for purchasing Team Building 101, the latest edition in our Empowering Women in Real Estate educational series. My name is Karen Cooper. I am the founder of Empowering Women in Real Estate and the host of Empowering Women in Real Estate, the podcast, but I also am a real estate team leader, which is why I have put together this digital course for you today. Our Platinum Group Real Estate team has been in existence now, as of the time of this recording, for over 6 years. We have sold several hundred homes already this year. I'm recording this for you in like the middle of a year. So we're doing a lot of great business. We have 39 women on our team, combination of team members and support staff members. And we have learned a lot about the team building process through from where we kind of evolved, from where we started, my business partner Vicki and I, to where we are now. It looks very different, and we learned a lot of things, and some things that we learned that maybe we could have done or should have done differently from the very beginning. And I'm going to be sharing all of that to you through this digital course. So let's just jump right in. Okay, so you want to build a team. It's very common, popular. It's the thing that I hear a lot from realtors now, from women in our Empowering Women in Real Estate group, is they want to build a team. They're interested in building a team. But I think the thing to realize and recognize is that building a team, having a team, can mean multiple different types of things. Many of us, if you have been in business for any length of time and you have a support team that supports you, if you work with a transaction coordinator, if you have an assistant, you actually already have a team. I think that we don't think about that, or we discount that, but you actually do. You have a team around you. So that's really going to be our focus for this particular course. If you're interested in learning more about the process of having a team in terms of a support staff or support team that's supporting you, check out Empowering Women in Real Estate, the podcast. I did do an episode, I believe it was in 2020, on how to be a standout support team member, and that will really, I think, maybe help you in that particular process. But for this specific course, we're going to be talking about what to do when you're having, or how to build a team with sales agents who are working for you or under you. And I think something that is really, really important to understand when it comes to building a team is the reason, though, it never really goes away. It's just not possible to get. You will get into a rhythm as a team leader, and your systems will become more clear and will become easier. And so executing in that way is better. But it remains another portion of work and responsibility that is now required of you. And so it's important to really understand that, because I think a lot of agents, they think they're going to start a team and they want to build a team, but they don't really think about the other work that's required to build a team, and to really take care of the team members who are working for you and with you. You can't just be a sales agent who is focused solely on your business, on when you are getting started, why you want to build a team. So what is it that you need? What is the problem that you're going to be solving for yourself and or for your team members? So it could be that the problem that you need to solve is lead coverage for yourself. Maybe you have a lot of overflow business coming in and you really need help covering that extra business. And so that's your purpose, the problem you're going to solve, is twofold in that case. You are solving the problem in terms of yourself, making sure that this overflow business that you have is being well taken care of, but you're also providing a benefit in terms of lead opportunities for your team members. So you want to get really clear on what that problem is. For myself and our team, what we have found, the problem that we solve the problem of isolation that many agents experience in their business, which is also kind of a common solution that people come to teams for. But we also solve the problem of a lack of direction. Many agents don't really understand what to do or how to implement marketing, or just don't have time. They don't prioritize those things. And so those are problems that we solve in my business. So the more clear you can get on that, the better. And by the way, the purpose and what we solve on my team, that has really kind of evolved over time. And I think that you will probably see this as well with your team. You'll hear me say this repetitively through this course, is the way you start and the things that you do when you start, you will have to tweak and change, and they will evolve as you go on. And I don't know that there's any way to not have that happen. That is just, I think, a normal part of building a team and a normal part of just growth in general. So don't put so much pressure on yourself when you're trying to build a team that you have to get it perfect or you have to get it exactly right, because you won't. I'm pretty much going to promise you right now that I don't think it's possible to do that. You have to put your very best foot forward. You have to be constantly analyzing and tweaking, and then make adjustments as you go. And that's the best thing to do. And so that means that the problem that you're solving may also evolve too. So as you're getting started, get really clear on what it is that you are looking to do. What are you trying to accomplish by building this team, both for yourself and then also for your team members? And the thing to understand as you're going through this, and what you're going to find as we're going through this digital course, is I am walking you through a lot of thought-provoking questions, and the questions that we had to ask ourselves as we were building our team. It is a lot of kind of steps. What are the steps that you need to take in setting up your team? And so you're going to want to take some time to really kind of think through this process. So you might actually need to watch this and read through this more than once. The other thing that you really need to know is you really need to know that every level is a new devil. And so for every problem that you solve on your team, or for every problem that your team solves for your business, there's going to be a new one in its place. Now, that doesn't mean that you're off track or that you're doing things wrong. That's just part of the process. As you are continually leveling up in your business, which is in essence what you're doing when you're building a team, you will find new issues, you kind of step aside, you're solving problems, but then new ones are going to come to you. And that's just part of the process. And so just be prepared for that, and just understand that as you go. You need to understand, and you need to get really clear on what type of team you are going to be starting. So this is a question that I get quite a bit. You want to identify the type of team structure that you are going to build. Are you going to be a solo owner, or are you going to be like me and my business partner and have some kind of a partnership? We have a 50-50 partnership that works really well for us. Are you going to be a rainmaker team where the objective is your team, and the problem that you solve is you are going to be providing leads, a high volume of leads for the agents who are on your team? Are you going to be a hybrid like our team, where we do provide some leads, but that's not our sole purpose? Or is it going to be something else entirely? And the beautiful thing about our business and our industry is that you can really design it the way that you want. And there are books on the subject. There's a very well-known book about how to build a real estate team and a model to follow. And, I've read that book and gotten a lot of great insights from it, but we don't follow that model at all, because it didn't fit what we needed or wanted from our team. We knew in building our team, coming from the experiences that we'd had when we had been on a team ourselves, we had been on a Rainmaker team. One of the challenges that we had seen with Rainmaker teams, or our previous experience, or what's explained in the book, is that a couple of different problems. If all of the business is done in the Rainmaker's name, the splits tend to be very low, and for a reason, because a lot of things are being provided. But then the problem is, as agents grow, and often you'll attract maybe newer agents or inexperienced agents who they really need that. And I know for myself, that was really critical for me. I was able to establish an incredible foundation in my business because of that time that I spent on a Rainmaker team. But just like my business partner and many other agents that I know, and agents that I saw while I was on that team, is agents will tend to graduate and they'll leave you. And we didn't want that on our team. We didn't want agents to be coming and learning and leaving, and coming and learning and leaving, because then we would be spending just as much time constantly training and onboarding and training and onboarding, and then they would leave, and then we would have to start over. And we didn't want that. We wanted to build something where team members could come, find value, and they could stay and they could grow. And so because of that, our split structure is very different. Our team, the way our team works is very different. Our agents do business in their own name. They can earn up to very high splits. And so as a result, we do have a lot of really highly experienced agents. Our agents average 9 years of experience, which is super unusual on a team. But that was an intentional decision that we made really early on. And so these are the kind of things that you want to be thinking of. What is it that you're going to be providing, and what do you want that structure to be, and how is that going to work? We didn't want to be rainmakers. We didn't want that to be our solo reason and purpose for people to join our team, because we didn't want that pressure to have to one, it's pressure. It's also a tremendous amount of expense to generate a super, like a high enough volume to feed so many agents. And we didn't want that. We knew very clearly that that wasn't something that we wanted. We do have a lot of overflow business. And so that is a benefit. That is like a bonus of being on our team, is having some additional leads and some additional business. And we're constantly working to increase that. But that was never the purpose. And so also that really helps us. And we're going to talk about recruiting through this course, but that also really helps us when it comes to recruiting, because it's really clear. We're able to explain very clearly up front what we provide and what we don't. And if you are somebody who is looking for a high volume of leads to keep yourself going and to get your business going, then we are definitely not the team for you. And so that's really helpful. So really getting clear. And in these first few slides that we're going through, these are the areas where you're really going to be spending a lot of time in the beginning. It was weeks and months that we spent on each of these steps, really just getting clear on what we wanted to provide, what we wanted our culture to look like, what we wanted our team to look like, how is that going to work? And so that's really important. You also need to figure out what's your team going to be called, and think through this, because we went around and around on this topic for quite a bit, because we weren't really sure how to do this. And so, if you are a rainmaker, and that is the point of your team, and that's the whole kind of primary guiding force behind your team, then it might make sense for your name to be part of the team name, right? Because you need that personal brand name recognition. But if you're not going to be a rainmaker team, or if you're going to be a team like ours, where you want experienced agents, you want agents to be able to come and grow, and they're doing business in their own name, then you definitely are not going to want, it's a little bit more limiting actually to have it be under a specific person's name. So you're going to need to have something different. So you really need to kind of think through that. And that's why really getting clear on the purpose and the problem you're solving with your team, and getting clear on the kind of structure that you're going to have, is so important first, before you get to that whole naming part. Because your name, I think, in how that's going to be structured, whether it's going to be a person's name or just a brand name, ours is Platinum Group, is going to make a whole lot of sense. And then you also want to make sure, depending on what state you're located in, are there restrictions in terms of team names? So I know that in some areas, our team is the Platinum Group Real Estate Team. We are at Pearson Smith Realty. We're in the state of Virginia. We are allowed to have the words real estate or realty or realtor or whatever in our team name, but I know in some states you actually can't do that. So you want to make sure, check with your broker, because what you don't want to do is spend all this time, come up with a great team name, start going through the licensing and all that, which we'll talk about in a second, only to find out that this is not something you're allowed to do in your state. So you want to get clear on that. So check with your broker and find out what is and isn't possible. But finding out what kind of team that you want and getting clear on that is super important. The next thing is you want to legalize everything. You are starting a brand new business entity when you are starting a team. And so you need to treat it with the respect that it deserves. Do not put all of this time and effort and energy into something that you have not properly documented or legalized. So it's super important that you do this. If you are in a partnership, like I am, make sure that you meet with an attorney to draw up a legal partnership agreement that's going to cover everything from percentages. We've chosen to be 50-50. That makes a lot of sense for us. So we share equally in profit. We also share equally in expenses. You want to make sure that it's clear on how you're going to be paid, how expenses will be covered. What happens if one of you passes away? Or what happens if one of you wants to leave the business? So it's almost like it's like having a prenup. You have to really, while everybody's happy and you're excited and you're building this business together, that's the time to think through some of the difficult scenarios and make sure that you memorialize those, get clear on what the responses are going to be for those things, and have an attorney draw those up for you. And an attorney should also be able to help you to answer some of those questions, or even just to know what the questions are that you should be answering in your legal document. The attorney that we used was able to help us with that, and kind of made some suggestions in terms of things that we should address, scenarios that we should address. So make sure that you do that. I highly encourage and recommend that you consider forming an LLC for both legal and tax purposes. So, I'm not an attorney, I'm not an accountant. We did form an LLC very early on. It's important that ask the right people in your area what is going to make the most sense for you and for your business, but you really are going to want to kind of legalize that as well. Um, I you will need to set up bank accounts for your business. This is where the LLC comes into play again. So you want to make sure that you have those bank accounts set up. You are going to want to establish a CPA or a bookkeeper relationship. Having gone through an IRS audit, I can tell you how critically important this is. Don't think, oh, I'm just building a team, I'm just going to have one agent, this is not going to be a big deal. It can very quickly become a big deal. And things aren't a problem until they become a problem. And so the more upfront work you can do to clarify things and to legalize everything the right way is going to help you to avoid issues down the road. So having that CPA, having that bookkeeper, they can really help you to keep things kind of on track in the way that they need to be. You also want to decide how payroll is going to be handled for your staff members, because if you're starting a team, you've got to have some kind of a paid staff or staff person or support team that's going to be either supporting you in supporting the team or supporting the team themselves. And so how is that going to be handled? How is that payroll going to happen? Through our CPA, they're able to handle payroll for us. And so that makes things a whole lot easier for us. And then I'll also just add in here, another point to check with your broker is find out whether or not you need to license your team. So again, in my state, in the state of Virginia, we do have to license our team. Our team has its own license number in addition to our individual license numbers. So you need to find out whether or not that is something that is required. And then your broker may require or need copies of some of these documents as well. So we did have to file and provide to our broker, the different documents for our team. So legalize everything. Take the time to do this. Take the expense to do this. It is super important. You will regret it if you don't do this and you have a problem later on. So just, this is not fun. This is not the fun part. This is not the easy part, but it is critically important. So make sure that you're doing this. Okay, next you want to make some branding decisions. And so, we left the legalizing part, which is the hard part, and now we're moving into the fun part. So the branding decisions is actually, I think, the most fun. And this is probably the part that I think people think about the most when they want to join a team. What is the logo going to look like? What are our team colors going to be? What are our marketing pieces going to be? Are we going to have some kind of a tagline? Or, there's a lot of different details, and this can get really fun. And so one thing that I suggest to you is that you take into consideration your brokerage's colors and requirements, especially as it pertains to signage. If you design this incredibly beautiful logo that you want to use that is using red and white, and your brokerage requires that your sign panels be yellow, that's probably not a great combination, right? So you at least need to, before you finalize anything, get really clear with your broker on what the requirements are. And every brokerage is different. It's going to depend on whether or not you belong to a small boutique brokerage or whether or not you belong to a franchise brokerage. They all have different rules. Some of those rules also may not necessarily just be your brokerage. They could also be rules by state. So you want to get clear on those and make sure that you're taking that into consideration. Make sure that you're understanding what's required before you spend a lot of time, effort, or even money on this, so that you're not, designing something you love, something super beautiful, spending money on it, and then all of a sudden you find out you can't use it, or you can't use it the way that you want it to. So make sure that you do that. And then you're going to need to design all the things. So you're going to need sign panels and business cards and email signatures, and what about your listing presentation, and how do your brochure is going to look like for your listings? I mean, there's a million things that we do in our business that you will have the opportunity now to brand. And so you need to work on designing all of them. What are they going to look like? We obviously spent a lot of time on this in the beginning. We do change up our brochure formats and our marketing presentation formats, and our email signatures, even our business cards. Every few years, every couple years, we'll just kind of refresh them. Our logo stays the same. Our colors have really pretty much stayed the same, but the style may shift around a little. Our signs have always been the same. And so, you'll be able to do that too. And you can kind of have fun with that a little bit and kind of give you that kind of fresh energy in your marketing. I do really recommend that you hire a graphics designer for this for assistance, unless you are a talented graphics designer yourself, which neither my business partner nor myself are. Luckily, our first hire, our first support team member, is a very talented graphics designer. And so she was able to do all of this stuff for us. But if you don't already have someone, then I would encourage you to hire someone. You can even hire a marketing person to kind of put together a brand board for you and to kind of come up with a lot of this for you. You can also go to online resources and hire a contractor specifically just for what you need. Places like Fiverr, I've done that before. In fact, that's where I got, that's how I did our Empowering Women in Real Estate logo that you see here on the slide. And I did that 7 years ago. And so there's a lot of great resources like that you can do. And then when it comes to designing your logo, you want to make sure that you have logo designs that are going to be for black, white, and colored backgrounds. So like inverted colors. So like you see my logo here, the Empowering Women in Real Estate logo, where you see the purple, and this is designed for a white background, but on a colored or a black background, we have it where it's inverted and it's actually white is what you see. So it will show up on the colored background, and you're going to need to do the same. You're going to need multiple different styles. Does your brokerage's logo need to also appear near or with or by your logo? So you'll have to find out from your brokerage, speak to your managing broker to get some clarity on what exactly you need to do, because you need to make sure that you're in compliance. You don't want to spend a lot of time on this. You don't want to invest money in this only to find out that everything that you did is not allowed in your state or is not allowed by your broker. So just take the time, make the phone call, and get clear on that and figure out what you need. Okay, next is, and this is probably the area where we spent the majority of our time, and this is creating your team agreement. And creating your team agreement, it is like, this is like, it's like our Bible, right? This is our Bible. This is how our team runs. This is what we provide. This is what we offer. This is what is not provided. This is what is not offered. This is what it costs. Like, this is everything for our team members. And we spent a ton of time on this. And I have to say, I'm really proud that we haven't had to make a lot of edits. And I'll explain why. And it's because of the format of what we chose to do, which you might want to consider as well. Here's things that I don't like. I don't like, and this is coming from former experience myself being on a team, I don't like things that aren't clear. What you don't want is to provide somebody 30 pages of legal mumbo jumbo that you can't understand what is and isn't. Like, I like stuff to be as clear as possible. We have had an attorney review our team agreement. So that is also important. Once it was completed, once it was done, we did have an attorney review it for us, just to make sure there wasn't anything else that we should add in or anything that, didn't belong in there. But you are going to think through, again, it's kind of like that prenup if you have a partnership. You need to think through a lot of different scenarios to ensure that they are addressed in your team agreement. And you're definitely not going to catch them all. It's just not possible. We still, 6 years in, find things that we didn't catch the first go around. So it's perfectly fine. Just know that you're going to be tweaking it and you're going to be adjusting it as time goes on. And that's just part of the process. But try to get as clear as you can. I think what has helped us to not have to constantly redo the whole thing is we have, and this is what I suggest, is consider having a main agreement. So we have kind of our main body of our agreement, but then we have an assortment of different addendums which address a variety of kind of top line topics. And those are the things that are most likely to change. So for example, a commission rider, that's the one that we have changed more often than anything else. And that's the thing that you will probably change more often than anything else. We realize, as time goes on and you're tracking and evaluating, that maybe some of the things that you were offering just doesn't work. And so you have to start revising that. And so having these separate riders, these separate addendums to the main agreement makes it a lot easier for us to make changes without having to redo the entire thing. We have addendums for things like minimum standards, minimum marketing standards, team tools and benefits. There's a whole assortment of these things. So think through, you need to memorialize what you're providing. Do your team members need to continue to pay their MLS dues or their association dues, or are you going to be paying them for them? If your brokerage has any fees, administrative fees, transaction fees, whose responsibility is it to pay for that? You have to think through everything because you have to be as clear as possible. And so that is why so much time and effort is going to go into this team agreement. And really, the more time you can spend on this, the better, because it's going to really help you as you're moving forward and growing your team. You want to be clear, kind of as I mentioned, like, how are team members going to be paid? Are they going to be paid from the brokerage or something else? What are the various financial obligations, both theirs and yours? What happens if the team member wants to leave the team or you wish to invite them to leave the team? We have something in our team agreement that's called the escape clause, and it's basically that. If for whatever reason you find that our team is no longer a good fit for you, or vice versa, we kind of feel you're not a good fit for the team, then you're welcome to move on. No hard feelings. We're really clear on, though, if you have a team lead, this is how this is going to be paid back, and any materials that you have, these are going to be returned. And so we try to address that stuff really clearly, because when you're in the heat of the moment and it's the same thing when we're selling real estate, and think about our contracts and why it's so important that our contracts be clear, is because when you're in the heat of the moment and there's a problem or there's an issue, you want to be able to reference back to this document that says very clearly, when everybody was calm and everybody was happy, how things are going to happen. And so that's why this is so important. And you also need to make a decision when you make changes to your team agreement. Will that only be for new team members as they're moving forward, or is that going to be for everyone? So for example, on our team, the area that we have changed the most is our commission rider. And when we do make changes to our commission rider, our commission tiers, we grandfather in everyone who's already on the team. So any changes that happen take place for the people who are coming, the new members who are coming onto the team. But anybody who joined us previously, the agreement we had with them is their agreement no matter what. And so you want to make that decision how that's going to work for you moving forward with teams. And the commission is, that's a hard one. That is probably one of the more difficult elements of building a team and creating a team, because you need to obviously make sure that you're offering fair commission rates to the team members who are joining your team based on what they're receiving. But you also want to make sure that it's fair to you as a team member, because you're taking on a lot of work, risk, expense. It's going to impact your ability to sell. It's going to impact your ability to run your own business if you are still in production. And so it has to be fair to you as well. And so sometimes, and I know we have found this, it's almost impossible to know upfront exactly what's going to work until you kind of get started. And then you realize, okay, you know what? We need to actually raise this level here. because this doesn't work from a profitability standpoint. And so you have to make those adjustments. And there is no right or wrong answer. What I suggest to everybody who's talking about building a team when it comes to commission is think about it very carefully. Run your numbers. You're going to want to look at average sales price for your area. You're going to want to look at, thinking about who you're going to be hiring. If you're going to be hiring experienced agents or newer agents, what is their likely minimum average sales price going to be? What's the average commission rate? Kind of do some math. Okay, about how much of each transaction is the team going to retain versus what the team member is going to get? Is that going to make sense versus how much do we have to spend as a team to, pay for the support staff and to rent space if you rent space? Or, all of whatever it is that you're providing, does that make sense? And so start with something and then very closely track and evaluate and adjust as need be. That's the only way. That's the only way that you can do it. You also need to identify roles on your team. And probably the most, it sounds wrong for me to say this is the most important, but it's kind of a big thing that you have to decide is what is your role going to be on the team? When Vicki and I started our team 6 years ago, we made the decision at that time that we were both going to sell. We needed to continue to sell full time in addition to supporting our team. We also made the decision or had kind of talked through that as additional team responsibilities came up, when it came to things like leading meetings and training, when it came time for one of us to take less of a sales role and more on focusing on the team, that I would be the one to do that because of my experience as a managing broker. So you want to think about what your role is going to be, because you need to be able to clearly define that. Are you going to continue to sell full-time? Because remember, now you are selling full-time, but you're also responsible for all of these other people that are also selling real estate too. And so these are going to be impacted. And so you have to really make sure that you have the bandwidth to do everything that you're going to do. What should team members be reaching out to you for? When they're having contractual problems, are they supposed to be calling you? Are they supposed to be calling the managing broker at your office? Where are you in the process of what they need to do on their day-to-day basis? You need to be really clear on that. What you don't want is just to hire a whole bunch of agents and then you never talk to them again, because that's not going to work. So you have to be really clear on that. Who is on your support team? Especially if you are still trying to sell and you're selling full-time and you're also taking care of this team, you're going to need a support team. You're going to need a support staff who's going to be helping you, taking care of administrative roles, handling things with the team, and who are those people going to be, and what access do your team members have to them? On our team, we have multiple support staff members, but not all of them are available to the team. So some of them are specifically for the team leaders. Some are more specifically for the overall management of the team, but not necessarily available to our team members for a variety of things. So you have to really kind of think through that. And every time you hire someone onto your support team, you need to think through, who are they going to report to? What is that role going to look like? Will the team members have access to them, and how? And remember that, when you start with a team and maybe you've got 1 or 2 or 3 agents, it's very different than when you have 7, 8, 9, or 10. So you almost have to kind of think ahead and think, okay, well, you know what, right now, it may not be a big deal for our 1 or 2 agents to talk to this person and ask them for things. But if we had 10 agents, it would be a huge deal. So we don't want to get into that habit now. So you have to kind of sort of project forward and think about some of that stuff. You need to think about training. Are you going to offer training on your team? We offer consistent training. We ask our team members to commit every Tuesday morning to us, and we alternate through the month between team meetings and trainings. And so, and of course also our brokerage offers training too. So you need to decide, are there going to be team specific trainings, or are you going to rely solely on what your brokerage is offering? If you are going to be doing training within your team, who's going to provide that training? For any meetings that you're going to be doing on your team, who is going to be kind of spearheading that? Who's going to be leading the meetings? Who's going to be coordinating the meetings? Who's going to be preparing the agenda? So you need to work through all of that, really identify those roles, because again, the more clear you can get, the better. If you go into this and you don't have this stuff figured out, then all of a sudden you're realizing, okay, the team's not getting together. We need to have a meeting. Well, who's in charge? Who's going to handle this? I can't. I'm too busy. I'm selling house. You need to really kind of think through a lot of this stuff to get started. And like it or not, when you become a team leader, your team members' problems are going to become your problems too. So you're going to need to make space for it in your day. I take calls, emails, text messages from our team members every single day, and so does my business partner, and so does our director of operations. Their problems, their challenges also become our problems and our challenges. And so you have to make sure that you are allowing for that in your day, because these are people who, they are committing to you. They are committing part of their commissions to you. They are aligning themselves to you. And so you owe them that. So you got to make sure that you have time for them when it comes to that. And then let's talk about recruiting and retention. So this is a very interesting topic, and it has certainly it's changed and evolved for our team as time has gone on. So in the beginning, our recruiting was very organically. We were both selling full time. So, we kind of started with a group of our friends, people that we had worked with before. So we kind of started there, but we weren't doing any outside recruiting. We were not reaching out to people. We're not asking them to join our team. It was very organic. It was agents who saw what we were doing and they would come to us and ask us about joining our team, or it was referrals from our team members themselves who would say, you know what, I just had a great transaction with so-and-so, or so-and-so, I really love being on this team. You might like it as well. And we really operated like that for about 3 years before we really started having a formalized recruiting process. And now what we have found works really well for us as our team has grown. It doesn't make sense for us to bring on kind of one agent at a time. What we have found is that every time you bring on a new agent, there is going to be disruption on your team. There's going to be some disruption in terms of your culture, right? Because your team is used to operating in a certain way and with certain people. And so when somebody new comes in, you need to make sure that they are able to connect with the new people and give everybody kind of a chance to get to know each other. There's going to be disruption from yourself and also from your support team, getting those team members onboarded, getting them up to speed with your systems, making sure that they have everything that they need. And so what we have found is that it's actually better for us to try to sort of compartmentalize this instead of spreading it out throughout the whole year. It's less disruptive in our view. So we started about 3 years ago doing what we call a lunch and learn. And even during COVID, we were doing these on Zoom, which of course was way less fun, but it worked still. So we would have a lunch and learn. We would advertise these on social media. Our agents would talk to other agents about them. And basically we would do a presentation on our team. So this is what we offer. This is what we do. This is kind of the behind the scenes. This is why we built the team that we built. These are our philosophies. This is our culture. We kind of go through everything. And if anybody who attends our lunch and learn is interested in joining our team, then we have a specific process for them to apply. Just like, and I've shared this story before on when it comes to hiring support team members, we kind of do the same thing when it comes to hiring agents. We have a very specific process, because if you can't follow the boundaries or follow the process that we have set forth for how to apply to join our team, then you're probably not going to be a great team member, because if you can't follow those rules and you can't follow that in the beginning, then you're probably not going to be a great fit for us moving on. So we always are very specific. Send an email to this email address, include this, and this, bonus points if you put it in a video. That's what we say. And so we'll do that twice a year. So typically we average having about 30 people who have participated in our lunch and learns at each time. And often about half, anywhere from a third to a half, will apply to join our team. And we will usually hire anywhere from about 3 to 5 at a time. And so it really just kind of depends on what we're looking for, what we need, and how good of a fit things are. And then once someone has applied, Then we go through kind of a second step process or even a third step process with an in-person coffee and then a lunch, just to kind of get to know each other, make sure that everybody is really on the same page. So that's what you're trying to do, is make sure everybody's on the same page. You need to get clear about who's going to onboard your agents and what is that process going to be. So by onboarding your agent, what I mean is, when somebody joins your team, if they come from within your brokerage, it's easier in a lot of ways, but they're still going to they're going to need their business cards. They're going to need, you're going to need their bio, because you're going to have to put it on your website, and are you going to do a social media post about them? So there's a lot of that kind of stuff. If they are coming from an outside brokerage, then obviously there's a whole nother set of things that are involved there as well. So who is going to be that person, and what is that process going to look like? And so for us, we have our director of operations and our program director are the two people who really spearhead these onboarding processes and make sure that everybody, introduces, that they introduce our new team members to our preferred vendor partners, and that they are on our calendar, that they have the dates for all of our upcoming, we plan it all in advance. Do they have all the dates for all of our team meetings and trainings and our client events and our retreat and, all of the different things that we're doing. And so you need to figure out who's going to do that and what that process is going to be like. You also want to identify who is your ideal team member. Now, again, in the beginning, we didn't really do this, and I wish we had done this, because the more clear you can be, the better. And this will change over time and based on your season. There, in my view, in our experience, and when I think about the structure of our team, what we have found is that we operate best when we have multiple kind of levels or tiers of types of agents. So we don't usually hire brand new agents. We will at times, but typically not very often. So you'll have the brand new agents or the newer agents, the more inexperienced agents. They tend to need more handholding. They need a lot more in terms of getting them up to speed. But they're fabulous to have on a team, because these are people who are hungry for leads. They'll take the rental leads from the other agents that don't want them. They will sit open houses. And so it's kind of a win-win for both. And then we kind of have what we call sort of like our kind of middle tier agents, which these are agents that they're already experienced or maybe not as interested. Maybe they'll take some rentals, maybe they'll do an open house from time, but it's just not something that they're really focused on. They do generate more of their own business, and they like to have a team lead here and there. And then we have our independent agents on the other end of the spectrum, which these are people who are fully independent in their business. They generate all of their own business. They really don't want team leads. They love that we have people on the team who want to take their rental leads and who want to do open houses. And so depending on where you are with your team, you may find, if you are able to kind of analyze things the way that I have just broken that down, you may find that you have holes in some of those places. For us, we love independent agents are great because it provides a consistent source of income, right? We make far less on those agents, but they bring in more consistent business. So you have to really kind of think about what it is that you're needing at each phase in your business, and that can help you to make your hiring decisions from time to time. You also need to think about, how will you build a sense of community and camaraderie amongst your team? And so we do this in a variety of different ways. So obviously our team meetings when we're in person, we do a lot to keep everybody engaged and sharing and supporting each other. We call it our chat line, which you can do a group text through. We use a system called GroupMe. It does not, there's no cost associated to it. And it's basically like a group texting, but there isn't a limit for how many people you can have on it. And so there's constantly chatter, questions, things going on through that all the time. We do a lot of incentives. So we do incentives with our team twice a year. We do them in January as a great way just to kind of kick off the year and get everybody excited and moving forward again after maybe a break from the holidays. And then we also do a fall incentive that we do typically right after the kids go back to school. Our team is full of moms. And so the summer looks a little bit different. And so as we're moving into that back to school, into that fall season, we'll do another incentive. And so, there's something fun about sort of a healthy competition. Sometimes we'll have teams within the team competing against each other for these incentives. Once we did a team incentive where we had two different groups, and the group that lost had to cook dinner for the group that won, and the team paid for the food. And so it's just really fun. And so things like this can really help to kind of build up that camaraderie and getting everybody connected, because the truth is we're not always good at reaching out to new people and getting to know new people. And so sometimes we have to, as team leaders, your job is sometimes is to spearhead that and to get that momentum going. And then once you do, then it typically will take on a life of its own. And that's what you really want it to do. Something else that we do, we call it our PG buddies, Platinum Group Buddies. We did this a long time ago when we had, typically when we've hired quite a few people at once. We did this a lot during COVID. We really brought it back then, and it was so fantastic. And what we would do is every month we would assign buddies. So either 2 or 3 people are buddies, and we give a new assignment every month. And your job is during that month to meet with, and during COVID, we were doing it via Zoom or meet in person, your buddy or your buddies, and just get to know each other, have a conversation. And that has been so incredible for our team and for building that, people are getting to know each other and they're bonding with each other. And so think about different ways that you can do that really kind of get that sense of community and that sense of belonging going. You also want to think about, you can't talk about recruiting without talking about retention. And so you have to think about, what does your retention plan look like? And so we have been very lucky that we have a incredibly high retention rate. We very rarely have had agents who've left us. Often when they have, it's because, we had a couple people who moved away. We had somebody who retired from the business. We have somebody else who decided to form a team with her husband. So we've been very lucky that overall we've had a very high retention rate. And I think it's not by accident. It's because we spend a lot of time building that sense of community and camaraderie. And because the problem that we solve allows agents to be on our team and to grow within our team, that they don't feel the need to leave. And so that is kind of our retention plan. Our retention plan is really centered around providing value to our team members and building that sense of community. So you need to think about that too. You can't just hire people and then don't talk to them again, or not be engaged with them again, because then they will leave you. There's no reason to stay. So you have to think intentionally about that, plan intentionally about that. How will you handle or recognize your team member anniversaries? So, we always recognize them and acknowledge them within the team. For a long time, we have given team members the option to sit down and have a kind of in-person sort of one-on-one review with myself and my business partner. Something that we've started doing this year, now that we're back to more in person after COVID, is we will do anniversary lunches where we, just the two of us will take that team member to lunch. And so it's just a way to help to keep everybody connected, help everyone to feel special and acknowledged. Like, if somebody is celebrating an anniversary with you, we have people who have been with us 5 and 6 years, and our team has been in existence for 6 years. So, that is a big deal when you have someone who has devoted that much of their time in their career with you. And so you really want to acknowledge that. And that's how we have chosen to do that. And then the last part that I will cover with you on this, that is probably I say lots of things are most important, but this is a really important part. That's to track, evaluate, and tweak. So you need to be constantly tracking what is happening with your team. And it is going to be incredibly eye-opening to see what your expenses really are, to see how much each team member contributes financially to your team. This is going to help to drive adjustments to your commission structure. We're able to know, and this comes after, like, you don't get this after the first month, but you get this after a while. We're able to know the approximate expense of each team member on our team. How much does it cost to have someone on our team? So that helps us when it comes to commission structures, because if we know that it costs us this much to have someone on our team, well, we have to make sure that the amount that they pay into the team is definitely more than that, right? It's got to be at least that, but it's got to be more than that for it to make sense. And so that can really help you as time goes on. And don't expect to get that right the first time. You're going to have to tweak that, and that's perfectly fine. But you got to track it in order to know. The next thing is you have to be regularly evaluating your culture, your processes, your systems, your training. The things that we do and that we've done have really evolved over time. When we first started, we just did a team meeting every other week. And a portion of that team meeting would be a small training component. But over time, our team has wanted more and more training. We've seen the need for more and more training. I think that is not and so we've added in more and more training, at least 2 sessions a month. And I don't think that is a coincidence that our agents produce an average of more than 8 million each every single year. And this year at mid-year, we had agents that had already closed 11 and 12 million at mid-year at 6 months. And I don't think it is coincidental that we have increased our training and our systems over the past couple of years. And so you need to be constantly evaluating that, what's working, what's not working. For a while we did PG Buddies and we didn't need it anymore, so we took it away. And then when COVID came back, we put that back into place. And so you have to be constantly kind of looking at that. It's really great to have, and especially we're so fortunate to have this with our support team, who are people who are kind of like in the middle of it, right? In the middle of it with you, or in the thick of it with you, because we often get a perspective from Melissa, our director of operations, that we wouldn't necessarily get or see ourselves. She hears things from agents. She sees what's happening in the office. She hears things that's going on. And so that helps us to constantly be doing that evaluating and then, adjusting things as we need to. Something that we implemented a few years ago is we do an annual survey of our team members. So we do that prior to our big mid-year meeting. And we send out a survey that asks, we list out, these are all of the things the team provides. What's most valuable to you? What are the things that you're not using? What are the things that aren't helpful? We ask a whole variety of questions centered around specific things that we do and offer. And of course, we also give space for them just to share anything that they would like to share. And it's very eye-opening. It's very helpful. Sometimes it's hurtful. Sometimes it's hard to, you spend so much time and effort and money into building a team, into building something, and to hear that other people maybe don't receive it the way that you wanted it to be received or the way that you thought it would be received, that hurts sometimes. But it's also super helpful. You need to know, because when we know, then we can make adjustments if we need to. And if we're not going to make adjustments, then we can say very clearly, this is not going to change, and here's why. And so it just makes for a much more open and cohesive environment when you're able to do that. And then lastly it's tweaking. It's all the tweaking. Tweak, 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 tweak. You have to be, we are constantly tweaking and revising and evolving things. And that's just how it goes. That's how it works for you as an individual agent in your business. And it's how it works as a team leader. You need to see what's working. You need to track it. You have to evaluate it. And then you just make adjustments, because it's not going to be perfect, and it's perfectly fine. But you just make small adjustments, and you make a little adjustment here and a little adjustment there. And sometimes the small adjustment might actually lead you to something that's even so much better. And so that is really the mark of growth as a team leader and growth as a team. And so don't beat yourself up. Don't feel bad if you're finding yourself having to change things. It's definitely not a defeat. It's just proof of growth. It's proof of progress. And that's super important. So, okay, that was a lot. So I hope that this has been a very helpful experience for you to hear some of this behind the scenes with my team, to go through the different steps of what you need to do when you're building your own team. If anything, I wish that I had started my team earlier. It's really been a wonderful experience for me. Yes, there are times that it's hard. It's very hard. But overall, it has been a great benefit in my life, and my business has been so enriched by having this community with these other women. And so it can be a fantastic experience. And I hope that you will build something of your own and have that experience too. And I will just put out the little reminder that if you want to continue working with me beyond these educational series courses, which we have many now that are available on our website, then you might want to consider joining our Empower Coaching program. And so through that program, I actually teach everything that I offer to my team. Exactly what we do with my team is exactly what we teach through the Empower Coaching program. And that program is only $59 per month, and it is strictly month to month, so you can cancel at any time. And so there is no pressure, no hard feelings, and that might be something that you would want to consider. We also do talk about team building. We do group coaching sessions, and a lot of times I have that question about the coaching, and so we're able to answer that there. So I hope this has been really good and helpful for you. I would love your feedback. Please share with me. Feel free to reach out to me. Instagram is my favorite, Karen.w.Cooper, or certainly share in our group, Empowering Women in Real Estate. And talk to you again soon.